Hello, this is the 2016 LEGO Winter Holiday Train set, which also comes with enough track to make a complete circular loop. This is able to be set up to actually run, however, it does not come with anything to make it actually go. You need to add your own power functions separately. The locomotive is set up with an unusual 420 configuration. It's very compact, but I personally think it's very charming looking. It has its own certain personality. Obviously the color scheme is Christmas inspired, but where they placed the colors and how much they used of each, I think is well done and makes this look like it was intended to be designed this way. It doesn't look like they've taken a real train design and tried to minimize it down while taking a bunch of stuff out. I like the simulated steam coming off the top and also what they did for the headlight here and also the bell at the back. Interesting uses of parts, I'd say. The cab section has a removable roof to allow you to get access inside of there, where there's a single printed tile piece for controls towards the front. It's a piece that's been around for a while, but it's pretty appropriate. Just these four red studs down here are the places where you would want to set up a figure standing in there. It looks like you might be able to set them up on the white area there, but it doesn't really fit properly. But here, as long as you have the arms up just a little bit, that's where you can fit them down here. You can also clip a figure on to the side by just clipping onto one of these golden rods along the edge, but it is a little bit awkward because he doesn't have his feet on the ground or on anything there, but at least he can look off to the side so you can see it from the outside. There's actually a hole in the floor down here, which is to allow wires to pass through to get to a power functions motor, which again is sold separately. You have to add it in yourself. There is a bit of an awkward coupling between the locomotive and the tender here. This is actually kind of loose. You can just lift it directly off. The tender is another thing that I would definitely describe as charming here. I like the lights on the side, just the overall color scheme, and also the level of texture in it. You know, they use different building techniques, a little bit of studs on the sides, the use of these panel pieces just brings in some extra life. And I really appreciate the consistency from section to section of the train in that way. The tender also has some simulated coal in it, and the whole thing is just at an angle, which kind of looks appropriate. The flatbed car here has a little bit of open cargo space where you can stack up some gifts, and I'll show you the gifts in a minute, but this display is kind of the highlight of this one, with a nice Christmas tree with different colored lights, and it also has a simulated train going around the base of it, which looks pretty good. I'm surprised they went with just a plain blue color scheme for the tender and locomotive there, but the passenger cars I think look much nicer, and this kind of hides a pretty spectacular little action feature. I mean, some folks might look at this and say, it's very plain and boring and anybody can do that, but I think it's great. As you move the vehicle along, push it along the tracks, or if you get it motorized up, it has a little gear mechanism that will cause the tree to spin. Now, it would have been nicer if just the train, the little minifigure scale train there, moved around the tree, but even as it is, I think it's really nice. And do note that I have to move this way for it to go in the correct direction, so this really should be the front of the car. That's done with a worm gear directly on one of the axles, which then in turn is just driving a simple gear, small gear right there, and it's a direct drive up to the mechanism above, or to the assembly above. It's nice. It's really nice. This last car is pretty important, but when I first saw the pictures of this set, I thought that this was just a caboose. Well, you can use it as just a caboose, and it looks nice. It's interesting that they brought in the dark blue color back here. Adds a little something extra rather than just sticking with the green. I would have expected dark green to be used there, but I think this actually works out pretty well. It's fairly symmetrical in its design. Each end has a lamp, and they use these shutter style doors that can be opened up. And you see there's just a little bit of interior on the inside. Well, you can take the whole roof off to get access to that from the top. And then you notice this is kind of set up as a passenger car, or possibly a diner car. It just has two seats in it. It's so small that I expected it to be just a caboose, but this could be set up for a a nice private date between a couple of folks there. A little lamp off to the side, and the all-important coffee mug, which would probably be used for hot cocoa in this context. Now this is supposed to be a train stop. Okay, sure. It's a bench on a platform with a single stair going up to it. It's fine. It gives you a little something off to the side, but it's nothing spectacular. I think the nicest thing here by far is the lamp. It's a nice design, and it's something that can be used in different contexts as well. The gifts here are cool. I like even the ones that are still in packages because they have a variety of different colors and designs, and they even suggest a different type of bow used for this one. But then there are all these toys that are unpackaged, including this fire truck here, a ladder truck. You can kind of raise the ladder up. I don't think you can overuse this technique using the roller skates to represent wheels on something of this scale. A nice sailboat. That's pretty effective. It's so difficult to build in such a small scale, but this is a pretty smart design. Small car with a wind-up knob on the top of it, so it's supposed to go on its own. This is a spaceship, kind of has a Blacktron theme to it. Previously, in I think one of last year's holiday themed sets, they had a classic space colored, blue, gray, and a transparent yellow colored spaceship. But now this is kind of like the counterpart to that, and then this is the most complicated build amongst these, a toy robot, and it's something that's able to be programmed or remotely controlled, because they include a kid in the set who also has a control for it. And this reminds me so much of Robbie the Robot, an old thing you could get from Radio Shack, and I actually had one as a kid. It would go around, it would bump into things, and it would say, "Excuse me." Unfortunately, the flatbed car doesn't quite have enough room to hold all of the gifts, so if you want to haul all of them, you need to split them up a little bit. Put some in the tender car, some in the caboose/passenger car or something, because this stuff is just barely balanced here, and if I just touch one thing, it starts to fall off. It's just not quite enough space there. Here are the adult minifigures that are included with the set, so you could see these as being the engineer on the left, conductor in the middle, and a passenger on the right. The one on the right, interestingly enough, is actually using a torso piece from the DC Superheroes Penguin figure. It's actually a pretty clever and appropriate reuse of that part, because it has the parka on there, or just a furry jacket. And I like this hairpiece, brown color there, and you also get a second face on the back of that one. It's a reused head, but it's a good one. And here are the two kids that are also included here. These have single-sided heads on them, so no alternate face. And the kid on the left looks like he is a fan of ocean exploration. Now the instructions show you exactly what's needed to motorize the locomotive and exactly how to do it. And with a partially modular design, it's actually very quick and easy. But when you're done, you don't have any space where you can actually put figures into the cab anymore. This is just a little bit unsightly relative to the original view of it, with the infrared controller receiver right there, and also the tender car gets filled up with a battery with a wire going between the two. This loop of included track has an inner diameter of just over 20 inches, which I'll just say is modest, very modest. This is really just the most basic and smallest layout of track that they could possibly include and still actually have it connected so it can continue to go around. This probably will go around the bases of many Christmas trees, but definitely not all, and you have to have the presents going around the outside of it, not inside the loop. Now I can't help myself, I need to demonstrate this train in a much more grandiose way. So that's the 2016 LEGO Winter Holiday Train. Let me know what you think about it. Share your thoughts in a comment down below. I definitely like what I see, but it is definitely small and it's kind of on the expensive side. I look forward to reading your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.